You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
What's going on, guys? Today I'll be watching a video in which a white progressive explains to us why she is just so sick of white people bullshit and how obviously she wants to dismantle white supremacy in America and the West, and that everyone else is basically suffering because of the evil white man. So let's jump into it.
Trying to figure out what is YPEPO.
If you say it out loud, it's like white people. Like
You're
white people.
You're sick of white people?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sick of white people bullshit.
Now that's not racist whatsoever. Oh, just white people bullshit. You know, white people wanting rights, white people not wanting to be attacked over their race. Jeez, that sucks. Those fucking white people just need to go and get sent into the sun.
You don't look colored to me.
That is, I mean, I'm still sick of like their discrimination
I mean-
and their white supremacy and all their bullshit. Like,
But what's wrong with white people? I mean, who's better than white people then? If you're sick of white people, then there should be other people who are better than white. I mean, logically speaking, no?
I'm saying I'm sick of their bullshit.
Yeah, but white people obviously don't just have one narrative that we all spew. We're not in just one massive club in which we're told, oh, you're going to say this today. So, yeah, I'm sick of white people bullshit. Kind of doesn't really make any sense. And to answer his question, of course, black people are the best. And then it's Hispanics, and then I think Asians are under that. Asians are pretty close with white people now, as God, they just do too well in society, so they just really need to... A lot of them probably have white privilege as well, to be honest.
But they're bullshitting every single white person. I mean, using
Well,
your...
this is like white people, so that's kind of like.
who's not bullshitting. So white people are bullshitting, meaning other people are not bullshitting, right? I'm just
No,
trying to see logical kind of, line of
I mean,
thought.
I think as a society,
Uh-huh.
like white people are culturally kind of brainwashed to see themselves as above like immigrants, people of color, and then we have also like systemic issues with like the prison pipeline, and there's a lot of like systemic racism and discrimination here.
Uh-huh.
Like that's all maintained and perpetuated by white people.
White.
I love how they haven't thought this line of reasoning through at all, as they're basically saying that all colored people that come into America are morons. As why would you go into a country that's that's a white supremacist country if you're not white? Why would you? What, so you can be oppressed? So they're all that freaking stupid? Or maybe it's the fact that America actually isn't a white supremacist country, and that, all groups actually really have a chance to thrive. But no, it's just, systemic racism, white supremacy, blah, 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 insanity.
People
Whether-
around the world or just in this country?
Well, I'm sure it's, I'm not going to extrapolate like U.S. politics to everywhere, but
No, but we're talking about white people. White people live around the world. Asians live around the world. Blacks live around the world. So you kind of single out white people. That's why I'm a white person. I, kind of wouldn't subscribe to, what you term bullshit. As far as my reasoning is concerned, I'm just wondering, and you're a white person, so, what makes you different from me, for instance, or vice versa?
So I'm saying like white people's bullshit is like when white people don't stand up for their rights and they don't dismantle the institutional like
You mean
discrimination.
white people don't stand for white people's rights, you mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
What a troll. And I'm sorry, progressive, we're not going to just completely destroy our societies because of your warped view of the world, as you've had a black president already. And yeah, there is definitely some issues in America, as for example, Covington kids just going to anti sort of abortion rally and just being absolutely smeared by your entire media class for doing nothing wrong, and the black people and the Native American, they just get a completely free pass. But nah, you're in a white supremacist country, where white people, we just have the privilege to be shat on all the time, and no other groups have any repercussions whatsoever. It's fantastic to be white in, the West.
I get it. I love it.
I mean, but seriously, I mean,
No, I am very
I'm
serious.
passing by, I see white people. I'm a white person. It kind of offends me. You know, well, why do you think that I'm a bullshitter?
So why are you opting into this? Like, do you feel like you're bullshitting people?
I don't
Do you feel
think
like-
so. I think that I'm
you-
fair.
So,
So when you say white people in
I think we
general,
need to like back, like
Sure.
let's zoom out a little bit.
sure.
So, do you think that there are systems in place in America that white people get better treatment than immigrants, people of color?
For reference, Progressive, there is white immigrants. And to answer that question, no, there isn't. White people don't get affirmative action, for example. This is where I feel sorry for Asians as well. You're basically honorary white people at this point, as you don't get that privilege either. You're actually discriminated against. Yeah, it's the same in my country as well. So no, there's actually systems in our countries that are working against us.
Perhaps, but
I mean,
just the
there are.
opposite. Just the opposite works at universities, for instance.
So, okay, but I'm talking about like, let's just look at like our country's history. So it was founded on white supremacy.
How
and,
by who?
Like European white people who came over here,
And who was here before white people?
the indigenous people.
And how different were they from the white people? I mean, was it better than white people?
Your country was not founded on white supremacy. Yes, there have been some horrible actions done in the past, but you do realize that the Native Americans, they weren't just completely perfect either. We're trying to build a better future. You can apologize for your past if you want, but it's in the freaking past. And now you've got probably the greatest country in the world where anyone, except for if you're white, I don't know why white people actually want to go to America now, as you're just discriminated against, but it's the same with all Western countries, where you can be black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, and you actually have a chance. Like, if I go to China, I'm going to be discriminated against. I don't even think I'd be able to get citizenship, to be honest. So, you should be happy that your country is just really helping people out. But no, instead, it's just, let's discriminate against white people more for some, other white people in the past doing some shit.
Or worse than
So
white
this
people?
isn't about who's better and who's worse. This is about standing up for justice and injustice. And a lot of white people are in different instances of injustice, and they're getting treatment and opportunities that other people aren't because of the systemic white supremacy that's in place in this country.
She just repeats herself, just repeatedly. He asks her a question. Oh, it's systematic oppression by white people to the colored people. Colored people are just so dumb to travel into a white supremacist country because that's your line of reasoning. You don't actually have any arguments. You haven't shown one actual system that is oppressing the colored.
And a lot of people who are white are oblivious or ignorant, or since like these kind of things don't affect them, they just like
So the white
kind of
people,
la 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 through life instead of
the most important thing, but
dismantling white supremacy that does exist in this country. And if it's not impacting you, that's because like you're not on the like receiving end of discrimination.
well, I lived in another part of the world where I was on the receiving end of discrimination, so I'm very
would
well familiar with discrimination.
Would you want those people who are discriminating against you to like stop and maybe
Of course, oh, absolutely.
So like
Absolutely.
in our country, it's
Of
white
course.
people who are discriminating against putting policies
But
in place
let's-
and have historically
but-
benefited from racism.
Yeah,
Name me one policy, please. Just name me a single one that white people have put in place against the colored people. Just one. I can name you one that's, the opposite. It's called affirmative action, which is just, if you're an Asian guy and you get amazing scores, and there's, say, a black guy that doesn't really get the same level of scores, he's going to get in and you're not. Does that seem fair? It doesn't to me.
but
So it's up to white people to speak up and stand out and talk to other white people about their privilege and getting them involved
But-
to dismantle those systems.
do you mind backing up a little bit? When you talk about the foundations of this country, which we all know the history with Columbus, discovering America and stuff like that. So we're talking about the period circa
also, like, slavery.
13th century,
Yeah, I mean, it
14th
goes
century, right?
all the way back.
Okay, so just one second. So when the Europeans came over here, what was in this part of the hemisphere? I mean, we're talking about the entire hemisphere. I mean, what was here? I mean, were Incas kind of fair? Use the word fair. I mean, were Incas fair?
I'm not an Inca. That's not my cultural history. I'm a white person who
Yes, but you don't have to be, you know, an Inca to be like, oh, well, you know, look, that maybe that society had some problems. Just like you would say, oh, if there was a black person, they should have the right to, in this case, you know, fucking scream out against white supremacists. I could just say, well, you're a black guy, you know, it's not your culture. Why the hell are you talking about it? She's not the smartest of progressives I've seen.
has benefited from systemic racism since colonization and since slavery and since like Jim Crow era. I get the benefit. I'm born into a pipeline of success. I don't have people like, you know, telling me to go back to my own country. I don't like get discriminated with housing and jobs, and it's because I'm white. And that's something a lot of people don't realize that they're benefiting from.
How are they being discriminated against with housing and jobs? What, when a person's, you know, wanting to rent out the house, what, they see a black person and they're just like, oh, well, you're black, I'm definitely not renting it out to you. Is that the same with the jobs? You actually haven't named one system that is oppressing them. Yes, there are some issues. For example, there's definitely more black people in prison than their population. It's about 70%, as that's, you know, there's 14% blacks in America, roughly 7% are male. Most of the males are doing it, so they commit about 50% of the violent crimes. So that's why you see more representation of them in jail. Now, I definitely think there are some issues with that sort of community, whatever you want to call it, but I don't think it's white supremacy. I actually think it's the fact that, you know, most of them are in single-parent households. You know, lack of fathers. And I would actually really want to help these people, but you just telling them, oh, well, you're just living under a white supremacist country that the white man just wants to keep you down, that's not going to help them out. It's actually just going to make them angry, and, yeah, their lives will still be shit. So maybe, you know, stop just saying we live in a white supremacist country, since they do get affirmative action. You do realize this, right?
Because they are oblivious that, you know, other people are getting discriminated against.
Do you believe in civilizations?
So I'm not talking about anything on like a DNA level. This is a cultural, like systemic problem that has been part of our country since its founding, and it never went away. And the people who are maintaining that are white people. They're on the top of the social pyramid here, and so I think it's their responsibility to dismantle it and engage and like stand up for justice.
White people are definitely not on top of the social pyramid in the West. We are right smack bang on the bottom. And the actual real bottom is white straight male. If you're those three in the West at the moment, you're screwed. Honestly, if you want to get to the top, you have to just say, well, look, I identify as a black, queer, transgender Muslim. If you're those four, holy shit, you could do nothing wrong in Western society.
And having a social hierarchy where people of color, immigrants, poor people are treated worse than and discriminated against is wrong. And I think we can all agree with that. And
But I
so
think that
whoever is benefiting and perpetuating it, it's their responsibility to stop.
But I
and
think
end it.
I think if that were the case, again, logically speaking, how could possibly a racist country elect a black president?
It couldn't. It would be impossible. If your country was actually so racist and you had all these systems in place to obviously keep black people and other colored people down, there'd be no way that they'd even be able to run. Or if by chance they did, they would just lose instantly. And he won twice. I don't think Obama's very good, but hey, at least it shows you that black people can become president.
How is it
I'll
possible?
tell you how
How?
we did it. And if you don't understand how like there are different like mindsets within a country and everyone's like responsible for their
So I'm a
own-
Russian immigrant. I came from USSR originally. So when we talk about discrimination, I know what
So-
discrimination is.
So like we elected a black president,
Yes.
but I know
White
it's
people.
racist.
White people, by the way, because
Yeah,
statistically it's
some
impossible.
some white people are like with it.
You voted for Obama, I'm sure. You're a white
Yeah,
person,
like,
right?
Some white people are, you know, understanding these kind of systemic things, and some people, a lot of
Some
people
don't. It's a
don't.
personal level. But see, that's the fundamental difference. I come from USSR region. I'm Jewish. Okay. So when we talk about the USSR, the fundamental difference between, let's say, government-sponsored anti-Semitism versus personal anti-Semitism is a completely different story. Are
So,
they
like-
racist on the personal level? Yes. Is there racist on the government level over here? No.
Exactly. And to answer her point about, well, there's different viewpoints amongst white people in the country, yeah, of course. But you're saying there's systems of white supremacy out to get people that are not white. Those systems would stop that black person from either running for president or getting the nomination. They would, so it wouldn't matter if there was, like, say 20-30% woke people in this fantasy land she's living in. Those systems that you're constantly crying about wouldn't allow it. So him becoming president in itself shows you that, you know, there is not white supremacy in the country because he's a fucking black man that became a president. So yes, there are racists. You know, you sound quite racist. So there's racists everywhere, but there's no systems of white supremacy in America.
In USSR as a Jew, a lot of doors were
So-
closed to me, to my relatives. I know it from first-hand experience.
So here's
When
like
the
a-
black became the president of the United States, I mean, to me,
That-
it's a testimony that there's no racism in this country
That-
on the
I mean,
government level. Personally,
Like,
of course,
every
there.
single black person here tells me personally, like, they've not experienced discrimination, then I'll believe that racism is out of this country.
Irrelevant. I can show you a ton of white people that have said they've faced discrimination. I could go interview those Covington kids. Let's see how they feel. I'm sick of people just being like, oh, well, you know, I've talked to a couple of black people and they've told me about the discrimination they face. They could be biased, they could be lying, could be true, but, you know, I can show you a bunch of white people, so it doesn't mean anything. And I could probably show you a fuckload more white people than black people in today's Western society that are being discriminated against. You know, I can talk to Asian people as well. Anyone that's lost out to affirmative action, that have lost points, they've faced discrimination. And then, you know, talk to a bunch of black people that got into universities because of affirmative action. There we go. They haven't. They've actually benefited off our society. You know, at the expense of other people that did better but lost points because of their race.
When I see, like, a proportionate and, like, realistic representation of, like, all different types of people spread out evenly, like, then I'll believe that systemic racism is over.
Okay, so let's go from the top down.
Well, I
We had
actually
the
don't
pre-
have time for this.
We have to go.
My
Thank
mom's
you so
visiting in
much.
town. She's, like,
All right.
flooding from the thing, like, but, I mean, just
I'm
Google.
Google.
America racist.
Just Google it. Just Google white supremacy in America, and you're not going to find some completely ludicrous biased sources whatsoever. Oh my god, seriously, these people never change. It's literally the same talking points, just repeating themselves. So, I've got another video coming up. It's Tucker Carlson versus a post-abortion advocate, which it's making the rounds in America, and wow. Just wow. And also, I made a very flippant comment in the last couple of videos. I've had a couple of history buffs actually really send me some fucking interesting messages about sort of the reasons. It was really, to those, if they're still watching, you know who you are. Thank you very much. It was really interesting. But anyway, guys, catch you in the next video.